Welcome to Double Drivel, an NBA podcast. Hello and welcome to Double Drivel. I'm Greg, your host, and my co-host is JT. How you doing, JT?
I'm good, bud. How are you?
I'm not doing bad at all. We got a great show ahead. We got all sorts of good topics. So let's get right into it. We had the uniforms announced yesterday. They were first leaked over the past few weeks, and we finally got our first look last night at the official Nike release event. And we are going to look at what looks good and what was really bad. So we'll start with JT, who is going to take the Western Conference.
There's four. Each team has four jerseys. There's the home, there's the away, there's what they're calling the statement jersey. That's the one that we're talking about, the one that was leaked through NBA 2K. And the only one we haven't put our eyes on yet is the winter jersey. So we're talking about the statement jerseys. There's a lot to say about this. Two of them, right off the top, that are disgusting. My and it breaks my heart. My personal favorite team, the Utah Jazz, they have this, it's like gold, something supposed to represent some gradient of a Utah sunset, sunrise kind of thing.
I don't want to be any place with a sunset or sunrise that looks that color.
It's no good. It's too bright. It's a color that they've used as like a supporting color before. It kind of looks like those Warriors jerseys that we've seen the past couple years. Not good.
No.
Not a good look.
Can't say I like it either. Not an attractive uniform. What about what else don't you like?
I don't like Minnesota's vibrant glow-in-the-dark jersey. It's like super green. It's just, I think it's a little distracting. I think these bright colors are distracting.
So if you look at the uniform, because that's one of the ones I hated also, even though I wasn't tasked with covering the West, I did notice how much I hated that uniform. And with the shoulder straps, it almost looks like overalls. And I mean, it is just not an attractive look with that color, all that green, and just the way they laid it out. I just don't like it at all. It's gross looking.
Yeah. I guess one caveat to all this is there are 0 sleeved jerseys this season.
That is
none of those
huge
soccer looking jerseys. I think we can both feel pretty good about that.
Yes, those were awful. And one of my favorite moments in basketball, I think it was 3 years ago at this point, was LeBron playing pretty awful in the first half and walking up the jersey and basically ripping the sleeves off of the jersey that he had because he felt like they were annoying him and ruining his shot, which is always the kind of emotion I'm looking for.
Bruce Banner style.
Exactly. All right. So what about the ones you like?
I like OKC. I've seen some people talking shit about it. I think it looks better than other ones I've seen. Last year's, I always thought OKC's font looked a little small.
Very juvenile looking uniform, I always thought.
But I like this one. I mean, it takes OKC, the 3 letters, puts it right across the middle. It kind of like splits the font a little bit and tilts it just a little. And I think it's cool. I'm down. It's got a little flare on the side. And I think it works.
Very nice. And yeah, I mean, I'm in the camp of not liking that uniform at all. I don't think it looks good. It's just very strange looking to me. But what else do you like?
I like Phoenix.
Wow.
It's not the most over the top jersey. It's understated. I think I like purple on a uniform, and I like purple and orange together. And they've kind of embraced this little kind of sun flare thing on the shorts, tied into the Suns logo. Another just colors match. It's not blindingly bright, so I'll take it.
Nice. And actually, that's kind of interesting because the PHX is very similar, I think, to the OKC on their jersey. So it's like a certain style you seem to be attracted to.
Yeah, I like it. I like on the simpler side for sure.
Nice. All right. Well, in the East, I had some negative feelings about the Knicks jerseys. Now, they're not really the ugliest jerseys in the bunch, but I just feel like they could have done so much more. I mean, they have just that classic blue color that is just the Knicks, and to just have that be a complementary accent color just seems like a huge waste to me. And it's just a white uniform, especially since they have a separate white uniform, seems like a strange choice. And I didn't didn't agree with that one. And also the Pacers, which I was actually pretty excited for. I'd seen some leaks for some jersey concepts of theirs, and they looked really cool. And that was one that I didn't expect to not like when it finally came out. It is a yellow color, and it is very unattractive, I think. And I am not a fan of yellow jerseys. I think you went into it pretty well with the Jazz jerseys, how they just don't look nice. It's a nice accent color.
We got Golden State. We got Indiana. Now we got Utah. Denver has a pretty damn bright yellow jersey.
That is a lot of yellow.
It's too much. Too much.
Yep. And a couple ones that I actually liked were the Wizards jersey, which the Wizards jersey is their classic red, white, and blue. And it looks a lot like their jersey from last year, which I really liked a lot. And I just like the layout. I've always liked their logo and everything. I just think it's a really nice setup that they have, and it looks nice and classy and tasteful. And along those same lines is the Sixers. Their new jersey, I think, looks really good. I mean, they have the stars, the 13 stars for the colonies around the waistband, and they got the stars on the side. I think the font's very nice, and the logo, although has a white back on it, is not the most obtrusive thing I've ever seen, but it looks pretty nice. And I kind of like the Sixers jersey, and I didn't expect to even care.
Yeah, Sixers. I would agree. I like it. I like it too.
Yes, very, very nice. All right, so we will move on. And teams have new uniforms, but what teams have a new outlook for the coming year? That's something that we've been thinking about a lot. So you got any ideas, John, on who's going to move up and on this year and get better than they were last year?
I mean, I got a couple ideas. I don't know for sure, but it sure seems like this Minnesota bandwagon is building steam. They have new point guard in Jeff Teague. They have a lot of developing players. We can't get on the internet without hearing about Karl Anthony Towns and how he's about to bust out.
No, in his ugly jersey.
Yeah, the jerseys don't coincide with the team hype, unfortunately. But the Minnesota Timberwolves, a lot of people talking. Some things people say. I mean, Ricky Rubio, who was their former point guard, traded to the Utah Jazz, was definitely a pass first point guard.
Yeah,
and that's not what you're getting with Jeff Teague, though.
No, and speaking of Rubio, just to get slightly off topic here for a minute, playing great in the Euro League games that have been going on, and people really have been pretty high on Rubio and having Gobert accessible to him in the season coming. Got big things playing for them, so I think I would throw Utah in. I don't want to overstep my bounds here, but I think people have big expectations for Utah this year. I don't think losing Gordon Hayward is going to be the huge impact that it should be or could have been for other teams. I think they have a lot of other players that'll step up. I think Rudy will get better shots and more shots, and I really have high hopes for them.
The problem with Utah that myself and a lot of the fans are feeling is scoring this year. We have not a lot of scorers. We have an incredible defensive squad. Would expect the Jazz to be top 5, if not top 3 in the league in defense, but scoring is a concern.
Yeah, I'm sure. And there's a lot of teams that play little to no defense. So, I mean, that might be something that helps you. If you can keep scoring down, I mean, a lot of these teams are used to scoring. I mean, the Warriors, obviously, are always up in the 110s and almost 120 sometimes. That's big-time scoring. If you guys can keep that down, that's probably your best chance to win.
Yeah, defense leads to offense, as they say.
All right, and one team that I picked that is a team I do not like, but I can see that things are going to be better than they were last year because they were horrible, is the New York Knicks. Now, there's not a lot of promise that the Knicks will be a great team, but I don't think that they can disappoint much more than they did last year. I think Phil Jackson's out now. I think that the team is going to have a better chance of being run in some sort of consistent, reasonable way, and that's got to be better than they were last year because they were absolutely horrible, and it was just disgusting, especially to live in New York. You just hear about it so often, and they were so bad.
What are the chances that Carmelo Anthony is a New York Knick this season?
I mean, if they haven't traded him yet, I think you have to wait and see how the season starts going. I mean, if they overpaid some people like Tim Hardaway, but they have other players that might step up, and I mean, they got a young team. I mean, they certainly don't have a lot of great players, like I said, but they got what they got, so they they got to do something with it. And like I said, it's got to be better than last year because they were just very unhappy and just an obviously bad, just sad team last year.
Yeah, it seems weird that he would just be on that team this year. It just seems like that would be weird.
I think it's more weird that they got rid of Kyrie so quickly because he said he wanted to leave. I mean, since when do these people just get to dictate when they want to leave and where they want to go? And I don't understand. I think that it's actually good that they haven't caved to Carmelo.
Yeah, well, it is a players' league, and it all depends on how that relationship is between him and back of the house Knicks brass. I mean, there was a lot of heat there. I mean, he just didn't want to play on that team anymore, and it was pretty obvious. But who knows?
Yeah, and you don't know how much of that was Phil Jackson, and you don't know how much of it was the coach, your man Jeff Hornacek. So, I mean, time will tell what gets better as the season goes on. You got any other teams? Well, please.
On the Knicks, what's the over/under that Jeff Hornacek is the coach of the New York Knicks by the end of this coming season?
I mean, I would think with a new president coming in and a new decision maker, a new coach is never far behind on that, especially if they get off to a bad start or not, as they don't have as good of a start as I'm hoping that they may. But, yeah, I can't imagine it would last long if they don't start well.
It was a quiet season last year as far as turnover for coaches. I don't think there was any, and I don't think that's happened in a bit.
No, and that's something that's got to change because there's some bad teams that need to make some changes.
Yeah, agreed.
Hello and welcome back to Double Drivel. I'm Greg, my co-host JT. How you doing?
Good.
And we are moving on to the next topic. And we are talking about something that came up on Woj's Twitter feed, and it was about resting players. And Adam Silver thinking of instituting some sort of policy to get the players to not rest on games, particularly nationally televised games, which I thought was kind of interesting. So that makes me think the broadcast partners were whining after last season. But I have to say, I don't agree with forcing the players to play or the coaches to play the players, because the players are the heart of the league. That they are what make the league what they are. There's so many stars in the NBA. Yes, you want to go see them, but if they're to get injured, I mean, these teams have nothing. I mean, your whole season is based on how well these guys are going to play. So you can't just trot them out there just to make a few fans happy, especially in a visiting city. I mean, who cares? But it's like forcing me to take out like a Maserati or something out on a rainy day just because I own the car. I have to use it. Like, no, there's times to use it and there's times to not. And it's just being smart and being careful, I think, is more valuable than forcing them to play. What do you think?
I think I would agree with your point. I don't know what is the benefit. I mean, I get the benefit, like make more money of playing players that are hurt. That's a short-term benefit, though. Like, doesn't the league see the bigger picture? That don't they want these guys to play season after season rather than burn them out right quick? That seems like a pretty reasonable approach to me. But we don't want these guys getting hurt and losing them.
No, and like I said, I almost feel like this is an antiquated argument on their point, especially because I have League Pass. Other people have League Pass. You can watch these guys play whenever you want. It's not like it used to be. You'd have to wait till they'd be on the Sunday game of the week on NBC, or they'd be on TNT one night of the week. Like, we don't have to do that anymore. We can see any game anytime we want. So if you really want to see them, yes, I understand when you plunk down the money and you want to see your people live. I understand that. But there's other ways to see guys play, and it's not worth forcing guys to play that don't want to play or don't feel comfortable playing, or the coaches don't feel comfortable playing them. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Is it as simple as saying, do you want to see your favorite player play, or do you want to see your favorite organization thrive? Because it kind of seems to me like it's one or the other.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the complaints, from what I understood, were coming from when they would go to opposing teams' facilities, that they only come once or twice a year in some cases, that the people bought tickets to see LeBron play, against the Kings. Like, just because they're Kings ticket holders, you don't have any obligation to them as LeBron to play when you're there. So, and that's what I don't agree with, forcing some sort of obligation.
Totally agree. Totally agree. It gets a little funny when you start talking about people's health and making them perform beyond what is like a doctor recommended kind of thing. You know, it's like not your call. It's not the league's call.
No, that's what they have the team doctors for. They entrust them with other things, so they need to entrust them with this also. All right, and moving on, there was an article written by Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon in the Players Tribune, and it's not so much the article that I really want to focus on, although we will briefly. And it was titled "The Death of the Big Man?" And I mean, this is a phase. I don't want to get into this. I mean, I'm sure that this is a low point for big men, but everything comes back around, and big guys will learn how to shoot better as they're coming up. They will adapt to the new game. If the game really has changed, I don't think big men would be gone because they can be so dominant. I mean, if you think back to Shaq, I mean, there's nothing like that guy. Not that there's going to be another, but a really dominant big man is something you really can't stop if they don't want to be stopped. And what do you think, John?
A lot of hate on the big men nowadays I'm seeing. Like, what's wrong with dunking and just destroying the paint every time you touch the ball? We see a lot of this talk for Rudy Gobert, who is, without a doubt, one of the best offensive and defensive players in the league. He dunks it almost every fucking time.
Yeah.
People shit on that. Why can't he have a hook shot? Why can't he stop and pop? Why the fuck would he? Why he doesn't miss the dunks, the highest percentage shot in the game?
Yeah.
Why would a 7-footer take a 3-pointer? Like, wake the fuck up. Doesn't make any sense.
If
big men aren't dying. People get set in these cycles of what they see and what they hear, and I don't buy into it.
No, I don't either. I don't like it. I think it encourages bad play, like you said. Instead of having Rudy do what Rudy thrives at, people are always needling him to, take other shots or develop your game out, or you could be pretty solid. I mean, I don't see, if there's nobody to stop you, that's what the dream is. I mean, whatever you can do that the other team can't stop. And Rudy inside, when he wants to score, getting to be unstoppable. So
make the defense figure it out. Don't change your shit up just because people are getting bored. Like, piss off with that.
Yes, I completely agree. And another thing that I wanted to focus on while we were talking about the Players Tribune is that I just loathe the Players Tribune. I just think it is an absolute rag, and I can't stand it. It makes me mad when I hear something was published on the Players Tribune. Oh, did you read blah, blah, blah in the Players Tribune? It makes me so mad. When I go there was an article yesterday. One of the things was about Dak Prescott of the Cowboys, and it was sponsored by Citibank, and Citibank's name was also in the title of the story. It just feels so dirty to me that it's I want the abstraction between my players and the journalists that cover them. I don't want them covering themselves and advertising for themselves. They have Twitter. They have plenty of other ways to do that. Don't fake like this is some sort of news or this is some sort of place that I should go to hear the real story, because I'm hearing just as biased a story and swayed by them instead of by the journalists. So it drives me crazy.
Agreed. I don't know how much stock I put in the Players Tribune. I don't really get what it is exactly. Is it a periodical? Is it just a fucking mouthpiece for these guys who are they're athletes? I mean, these guys are athletes. Let the writers write about them. I mean, find good writers to do it, but maybe they don't need a totally separate thing for, because I agree with what you're saying. It does seem slighted to me.
What about Gordon Hayward's? I mean, speak to that a little for me. How did that make you feel? Did it make you feel like it was from the heart because it had his name on it? Was there any value to it that he couldn't have just talked to a reporter, an NBA reporter that's been doing this for, years, and David Aldridge, any number of reporters would have been happy to take this, and he decides to put it out himself? How did you receive it?
I don't know who the fuck Gordon Hayward is. I don't even know who you're talking about. I'll say that none of these guys write their own articles. They're all written by ghostwriters. As far as Hayward is concerned, how to fucking disappoint a team you've spent your entire career with, and how to like represent yourself badly is what Gordon Hayward has done with his what he released on the 4th of July this past year. It's just empty. It's just hollow. It's meaningless stuff. It's just fluff. You know, you're not getting any inside track. You're just getting kind of a front story. If there's one person in this world who thinks that Gordon Hayward hadn't decided to sign with the Boston Celtics before July 4th, if you think this guy is pacing around one of his many mansions, just distraught and unable to decide which team he's going to play for, fuck you. That is horseshit. There's no way that happened. This was done. The deal was done. These guys, they just try to like line up all their corollary stories so it shines them in a good light. What is the Players Tribune role in all this? You know, they kind of make it easy for players to like be wishy-washy about whatever. So fuck Hayward, fuck the Tribune. It does no one any good.
You don't think Gordon Hayward and his wife and family called a little family meeting? Everybody sitting down on the couch. All right, everybody, come on, get in the room. All right, Dad's got a big decision to make. You know, we can move to Boston. You know, we can stay in Utah. You don't think there was the big family meeting? You think it was very calculated and cold? Him and his agent sitting around plotting and planning, saying, oh, you know, we really want to go to Boston. How can we make it look like we want to stay in Utah? So we'll be very, like you said, wishy-washy about it and very insincere with what we say. And then eventually we'll just pull the trigger and go to Boston and make the decision he really wanted to anyway and go back to Brad Stevens.
Do you have any NBA insiders like on speed dial, my friend? Do you have any of those?
I would love that.
I don't have it. Do you have any?
No.
Okay, I don't know shit. All I know is what I read on the internet. How is it I can start reading in the fall of last season, Hayward's going to the Celtics? Yeah. Hayward's going to the Celtics. Everyone on the fucking planet knew that Hayward was going to the Celtics, except loyal Jazz fans who were holding little glimmer of hope.
Very similar to the talk that's going on with LeBron right now with the Lakers. How it's just this nonstop message that, oh, he's going to the Lakers next season. Oh, he's leaving Cleveland. I mean, how would anyone know this, like you said, unless someone was telling someone and wanted this news out there, like he did with Boston?
Rumors come from somewhere, and they're usually sprinkled with a little bit of truth seed. So, you know, whatever he decided, whenever he decided, people knew. People were talking. He could have done it a lot smoother than the Players Tribune thing on the 25th hour on the 4th of July.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that does it for this episode of Double Drivel. I'm Greg. He's JT, and you can follow us on Twitter at Double Dribblers. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on SoundCloud, Google Play. Just search for Double Drivel Podcast. And we'll see you next week. Did you have fun, John?
You bet. Thanks, bud.
See you later.